In 1983, I stood as the Labour candidate in the Bermondsey by-election in South London, which is generally regarded by most observers as being the dirtiest, most violent, and certainly the most homophobic election in the 20th century. That gave me a public platform, and as a result of the homophobia I experienced during that campaign, I resolved to do more work on LGBT plus issues. That made me a spokesperson, but also made me a magnet for homophobes, biphobes and transphobes from all over the country and even from other countries. So for me, it was a very, very tough period. I was living through what felt like a low-level civil war. I was attacked, violently assaulted, over 300 times. I had 50 attacks upon my flat, including 3 arson assaults, a bullet through the front door. In the course of these assaults, nearly all my teeth were chipped and cracked. I got all kinds of, other injuries. It was a very, very scary time, which I don't think anybody living outside of Northern Ireland could ever probably understand. But I was absolutely determined that in the face of these attacks, we had to fight back, and that I had to stand my ground together with others, and collectively we could and should change things. So I wasn't deterred, but it was very frightening. I was looking over my shoulder all the time. Every time I went out in public, I was always looking around who was around me, and I only escaped being knifed and run down by cars and vans by quick thinking and being observant. So it was not my favourite period, but it was a period of great, tumultuous and tremendous LGBT plus activism.
So you have to remember, in the 80s, it was legal to sack us. It was legal to take someone's kids away from them for being gay or lesbian. If you had a gay or lesbian partner, they were not recognised by anyone unless you actually went through some massive private legal arrangements, mostly adopting people, which was seriously weird if it was actually someone you wanted to be your husband or your wife. A lot of gay people, if their partner died, they were cut out by the family, not even allowed to go to the funeral. It was incredibly stigmatised then.
So we had, Conservative Party councillors saying that gay people should be gassed, that gay clubs should be closed down, that homosexuality should be recriminalised. And the consequence of all that was a huge spike in both the murders and other violent assaults on LGBT plus people, and also a massive escalation in the arrests of gay and bisexual men for consenting adult same-sex behaviour. So that in 1999, the number of men convicted of the main homophobic offence, so-called gross indecency, the law that sent Oscar Wilde to prison in 1895 and led to Alan Turing's prosecution in the 1950s, the number of convictions under that law rose to over 2,000, almost as many as in 1954-55, when homosexuality was totally illegal and when the country was gripped by a McCarthyite-style anti-gay witch hunt.
And life was very difficult for black lesbians and gay men, because a lot of black support was in churches who were not very keen on homosexuality. A lot of Asian people were living very traditional cultural lives, and that wasn't good for people who, you effectively had to become an honorary white sometimes. It was horrendous. In order to be out and gay, you were kind of like expelled from your community. So there was lots of leftist lesbians and gays like me who would preach solidarity with other liberation movements, but frankly there wasn't a fat lot of reciprocity. There was some, and there was honourable, terrific stuff that happened, for example, from some of the trade unions, after lesbians and gays support the miners, for example. That really did start to permeate, but it took a while to percolate through. And certainly when I was working, even in the mid-80s, for a local authority doing early HIV work, there was a tremendous amount of homophobia still from union reps there, and stuff like that. So, it was a slow move through to get those allies. And with Labour, you know, there were some people who were terrific, and some people who were spasmodically terrific, and who were not personally homophobic, but who were worried about the voters. And I can remember, after Section 28 passed, going in, and I must have gone in from... I must have gone in because I was the Secretary General of ILGA or something, which meant I got hauled into all sorts of odd things at that point. And the lesbian and gay Labour group at that point, we all went in to see a senior Labour politician who told us that we should just shut up and go away because we'd lost Section 28 and we were not going to get it back. You know, just said to us, that's it, you know, go away, we don't want you. And I think that probably strengthened my resolve. That probably propelled me thoroughly into the orbit of Stonewall, because even though I was a Labour voting person, parts of my own party didn't want me, and I was not having this. And it made it easier to say, well, you know, maybe I have some sympathy with gay Tories, not much, but some sympathy with gay Tories, because they're having an even harder time than I am.